Look, the debate last night, the clown car is broken. There's no brake, and it only steers left. I got to say that was scary last night. It was scary to see the Democrats, every one of them falling all over each other to get further and further and further left. You saw the Democrats, you just went through it in your monologue powerfully. You saw them embrace late-term abortions. You saw them embrace 70% tax rates. You saw them embrace socialism. You saw them tell the American people they want to take away everyone's health insurance. And you saw them embrace open borders. One of the most disturbing exchanges is when several of those candidates began saying they wanted to eliminate the provision in law that makes it illegal to cross the border, that makes it a crime to cross the border illegally. Now, Sean, as you know, last month, we apprehended over 144,000 people in the month of May crossing illegally. Well, the Democrat solution to that is, well, let's not make it a crime. There we go. The problem goes away. That is open borders. It's irresponsible. And it is sadly where the Democratic Party is today.
You know, how did we go from supporting Obama's position to it's immoral? And, you know, the guy that you knew, Robert, Francis, Beto, whatever his name is, literally is saying tear down the walls. But yet 90% of America's heroin comes across that border. We're losing 300 people a week in the opioid crisis. Then fentanyl, add that to the mix. I've interviewed these border agents that have spent, over a decade talking about children, young girls being trafficked for prostitution.
Yes.
11, 12, 13 years old. And
Sean, you and I have both been down to the border together. I'm going to be going on Monday back to the border to really try to highlight the crisis we're having there. Now, we saw some positive development today in that Congress finally passed what the president asked for, $4.5 billion. That includes over $1 billion for Border Patrol. That includes over $200 million for ICE. That's good. But here's the bad news. The Democrats in Congress refuse to close the loopholes that are causing this crisis. They refuse to do anything to fix the crisis. And what that means, I'll tell you one of the most disturbing reports I'm getting, Sean. I'm getting more and more reports from law enforcement of cartels and traffickers renting children. Because the idiotic policy that the Democrats have put in place is if someone shows up with a child, that they're allowed to stay. They're allowed to go free. And as a result, you're seeing little children who are they're finding more and more instances where they're with adults that are not their parents, that are not their family, that are strangers to them. But the child is essentially their get out of jail free card. That is cruel to incentivize kids being abused like that. And you know what? The Democrats on that stage, the Democrats on the stage right now, not a single one of them is willing to do anything to fix it.
Okay, so open borders and amnesty is the big part of their agenda. I don't even think the issue is about abortion. When you say no restrictions on abortion, then we get into what happened in Virginia and all these other states where they talk about during birth. It's not abortion, it's infanticide or post-birth infanticide.
Yes.
Then we've got a 70% top marginal tax rate for individuals, 90% for corporations. How many people has Texas taken in a year now in terms of gaining population? Wasn't it close to 400,000 in the last year or two?
We get over 1,000 people a day moving to the state of Texas. Why? Because that's where the jobs are.
Yeah, just
They're
don't bring your dumb
fleeing states like
policies from
California, states
with you.
like New York.
Yeah, wait a minute. So Mike Huckabee says on the show the other day, now if you're taking a U-Haul from California to Texas, it's about $1,600. I had not heard this. Yeah. But if you're returning it, you're basically doing U-Haul a favor. It's $400, but it's probably negotiable. They might give it to you for $100.
Mike is exactly right. And for a long time, the price differential going to California versus going to Texas, it's been about a 300% price differential at U-Haul. That's been true for years because everyone is fleeing the sinking ship. As you have the crazy left jacking up taxes, jacking up regulations, they're just and welcoming people coming illegally. And the job producers, the small business owners, are fleeing the state of California. And in Texas, I'll tell you something interesting, Sean. There's a story came out a couple of months ago. Do you know what the #1 city in the United States of America for millennials moving into it is? My hometown of Houston. Millennials
Yeah.
are moving to Houston, the most diverse big city in America. Why?
My
Because you
niece
come to
lives there
Houston, you
now.
come to
She's a
Texas, they're
doctor.
jobs. They're jobs, and the wages are going up, and you have opportunity because the government doesn't put their boot on the back of the necks of small businesses.
All right, so here we have, it was interesting, because Bill Maher, I don't like him, but he makes some very honest statements. And he said,
Yes.
not a good start because they didn't answer the first question. 70% of Americans, we now have the best employment situation in America since 1969. Principles, by the way, that you have supported your entire career, cutting taxes, deregulation. We're now energy independent for the first time in 75 years. The new Green Deal says no oil, no gas in 10 years. And by the way, many of them are buying into this insanity, that the new Green Deal. Now, what would that do to a state like Texas? What would that do to the economy in general if you had a 70% personal tax rate, 90% corporate tax rate? What would it do? Where would we end up?
It would destroy jobs. It would destroy opportunity all across this country. That tweet you mentioned from Bill Maher, I did something I don't think I've done before. I retweeted today Bill Maher because his tweet was exactly right. He said, look, the first question in the debate was a very good
there's
question.
a first.
70% of Americans.
Ted Cruz retweeting Bill Maher. I like that.
But he rightly pointed out, you just said it. He said, look, 70% of Americans say the economy's doing well. Why do you guys think we should change it? And not a one of the Democrats had an answer. We've got, you know this, Sean, and your viewers know this, we got the lowest unemployment in 50 years. We have the lowest African-American unemployment ever recorded, the lowest Hispanic unemployment ever recorded. And what they're proposing, the Green New Deal would cost $93 trillion. Now, it's hard sometimes to understand
Millions,
what a
billions,
trillion or
trillions.
billion or million. Let me put that in perspective. $93 trillion is more money than the federal government has spent in the entire history of the United States of America, going back to George Washington. It would mean about $65,000 per family in America per year. That's where the Democrats are. They're just, look, Donald Trump has broken the Democratic Party. They hate him so much that they're embracing policies that would destroy jobs across America and open up our borders. It's wrong.